I think we all agree that the Patriots game is a must-win for Matt Eberflus. But I'm gonna give you two reasons. Yes, two reasons why it's a must-win for Ryan Poles. Listen, if you're new to the channel, it's your boy P.Kidd. This is the Windy City Breeze. Let's talk about this. One of the reasons why we're even in this situation, why we are even having a conversation of being in these must-win situations, is not because it's not solely because of Matt Eberflus. It's not solely because of Caleb Williams' inconsistent play, which you can kind of expect from a rookie in his scenario. It's not simply because of the players or lack of player talent that we have. It's really because of Ryan Poles. Now, many people would sit here and agree or disagree with that. I don't really care what you say, but I'm going to be honest with you. The only reason why we're in this particular situation right now, where we're even questioning why Matt Eberflus is even still here, is because Ryan Poles has allowed it. Now, don't get me wrong. I understand the wisdom and logic of trying to have and build some form of continuity so that you're not sitting there going through this carousel of systems for your young QB. Not only do I understand it, I respect it, because one of the biggest gripes anyone will have about the Chicago Bears or any other organization that is struggling with finding and solidifying the QB position is the carousel of individuals that they have coming through and the pressure to put learning new systems on these young QBs. It is hard enough to learn one system in the NFL. In fact, Patrick Mahomes, after winning a Super Bowl, after being in a situation where he's been all pro and things of that nature, several years later said he's finally fully grasping Andy Reid's playbook. I want you all to understand that. He has already accomplished some of the most sought after awards and accolades in the NFL. And he had finally grasped the playbook. Guess what? I'm not sitting here saying that Matt Eberflus' system or whatever he has planned is as complicated as Andy Reid's. But I'm also willing to bet that it is not an easy feat to learn that system and learn any system that Matt Eberflus or your head coach or OC would try to install in a pro system. These people get paid millions of dollars for a reason. And it's one of the reasons why the QB gets paid so much and why it's one of the most cerebral positions in all of sports is because of how complicated, the sheer complexity of these systems. So we say all that to say the carousel of coaches is something you will want to avoid. And so I understand it from that aspect. But you had the opportunity to avoid that in the first place because Matt Eberflus shouldn't have even been here. Matt Eberflus shouldn't have been here to start this journey with Caleb Williams because it should have been a brand new situation all the way around. What sense does it make to bring in an OC and not flip out the head coach if you were already having questions about the head coach? So at this point, you've now put yourself behind the eight ball because if you flip out the head coach, there's a good chance that you will automatically flip out the OC because most head coaches want to have their guy. That's the conundrum. And that is the area. And that is the reason why a lot of this is starting to come out and fall on Ryan Poles. You can't have it both ways. We can't call you Fleece God and King Poles in one aspect because of these wonderful trades that you've made, but disregard the necessity to handle key areas of this team in others. They do go hand in hand. What good is all these picks if you don't use the picks to shore up the actual positions that need to be covered? Guess what? Other teams were able to make deals to get O-linemen to get better this season and by this trade deadline. We did nothing. What are we sitting on these picks for? What is the sense of having all this draft capital and stuff like that if we're not going to use it? Why are we sitting on our hands? What is the sense of going after another wide receiver after already getting Keenan Allen, having DJ Moore, and also having Cole Kmet, who was a top tight end, getting a new OC, but not getting any protection for Caleb. We had 2 first-round draft picks, not one. We had opportunities. We did not make those moves. And we got so cute to say, hey, let's get this punter in the 4th round. Yeah, we picked that up. And while I'm not sitting here saying that that was a bad thing, because listen, he's a good punter. But I don't care about having a good punter as much as I would have cared about having protection for my quarterback. And some people will sit there and say, "No, well, you definitely he pins the other team against the helps the defense. He pins the other team against the goal line." Like, shut up. Doesn't matter. Does not matter how many takeaways your defense gets if your offense can't move the ball down the field. I hate to say it, but your defense can't sit there and defend and score every point. This ain't basketball. That's a Ryan Poles issue. And it's also some of you all having to stop living in the freaking 80s. That ain't how football is done anymore. And if you think it is, guess what? I got about 10 of the last Super Bowl champions to kind of prove you wrong. Yeah. Yeah, the Chiefs don't win without Patrick Mahomes being Patrick Mahomes. He's pretty freaking good at throwing the ball, making decisions, making stuff happen. Yeah, they're pretty freaking good at moving the ball down the field. That defense does matter. That defense does help a whole lot. Guess what? That offense has been behind the 8 ball plenty of times, and that defense has gotten them back in the games. But guess what? That defense wasn't the sole reason they won that game. They moved that ball down the field. So all I'm saying is, shut that up. The offense needs to be fixed. You can't still live in this whole monster of the Midwest. Let's just have a great defense and hopefully our offense stop it. We're not trying to be good enough to just be on the national radar. Maybe we get some marquee games. We're trying to this fan base wants to actually win something. Not just a random game against the Packers in mid-November and maybe at the end of the season. Shut that up. It ain't just about beating the Packers anymore. We actually want to do something great. We actually want to have a QB who can actually throw the ball and actually be in a modern system. Hey, we're one of the only teams without a QB who's thrown over 4,000 yards. And some people say, well, it's not all about the yards. Shut up. I don't know many Super Bowl winning quarterbacks that ain't throwing for 4,000 yards at this point. I'm sorry. It's a small prerequisite, but it just shows me that my QB can get the ball down the freaking field or at least get it to his playmakers to move the ball down the field. He can't do that without an O-line, though, Ryan. That falls on you. Second thing. So that's the first. That's the first reason why this falls on you, because you allow it. You allow Matt Eberflus to be here. It's the second reason why this is a must-win for you, because by allowing Matt Eberflus to still be here to handle it such egregiously, you now have to. It's a must-win because now only one or two things have to happen at this particular point. You either have to admit that you've mishandled the opportunity to actually make this team better. Do what I would say Arturas Karnisovas did with the Chicago Bulls when he sat there and admitted he did not give Billy Donovan the people or the tools to actually make the team better. Unless you're going to do that, which we haven't heard yet. Unless you're going to do that, then it's a must-win because you chose to stick with this roster and not make any moves or strong moves to get people in at the trade deadline. It's a must-win because this is a team that is bad. This team is not good. This team should not even be in a conversation with us based off of the projection that you've given us and the hope and confidence that you've given us. But guess what? We are sitting here sweating bullets trying to say, hey, we don't know if we're going to actually win this game at all. So if you've made the decision to stick with these particular people, not make any particular moves, then that means you have the faith that this group can get it done, at least to some degree. So it's a must win for you, because if Caleb still looks like he's getting hunted the way he did against the Cardinals, I can't sit there and blame Shane for the lack of talent. I can't sit there and blame Eberflus for the lack of talent. That's a you problem. That's a Ryan Poles problem. Now, at that point, it becomes a Ryan Poles is on the hot seat problem. No matter how good the trades may have looked, no matter how good the fleets may have looked, if you mismanage the whole thing and you still put the franchise quarterback in a position to get killed, that's a you problem. Now, I get it. Not everybody, people have to be willing to deal with it and stuff like that. But sometimes you may have to go past, you may have to do a lot more. You may have to be willing to bet a little more to get the right people in the building. Olin Kreutz actually made that mention. You have to get very creative now to get the right people in the room, because you're putting yourself in a position where you're starting to do the same old and ruin another quarterback. What's the sense of having the picks, picking your guy, if all you're going to do is do the same old like the people before you? Let me tell you something. Those people got fired. Coach of the year got fired, Matt Eberflus. GM of the year got fired, Ryan Poles. They got fired. And it wasn't 5-6 years down the line. It wasn't. They didn't get fired with losing records, Matt Eberflus. Matt Nagy had a winning record. Ryan Pace had a winning record with us. Now, I know, not apples to apples, but I just want you all to understand. They had a winning record. There was expectations that we had of them based off of the things that they gave us, and they didn't live up to it. The noise got loud enough. People saw it. It got bad, and eventually they were excused and relieved of their duties. Don't sit here and don't make the mistake of thinking that can't be you. Do not make the mistake of thinking that can't be you. So for those reasons alone, the fact that you stuck with Matt Eberflus, the fact that Matt is still here, and the fact that there was no moves made at the trade deadline, this particular game against this bad team is a must win, because it goes to show that you should have a plan in place, but that belief, that cosign of this particular team that you keep putting on this field, that means you have faith in them, because nothing's been done about it. Nothing's been done. Well, the Bears won't sit there and fire a coach midseason. Well, maybe they should, because then I at least let the fan base know, hey, the Bears are trying to get real serious about winning. Unfortunately, it didn't work out this time, but we can see that they're making obvious moves to make that work. Start that process now. The fans need to see it. The players are already starting to sit there and leak out that they're not really feeling it. I don't care what anyone says. The fact that DJ Moore said, I want to say no, when it came to being asked if Matt Eberflus had lost the locker room, he said, I want to say no. Guess what? If anybody in any type of committed agreement, not even a relationship, just any committed agreement, had heard that kind of wavering tone from their partners, they'd be concerned. So I'm concerned. I'm very concerned. And that all still stems and comes back to Ryan Poles. Now, listen, I've ranted for about 10 minutes, but I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear where you stand when it comes to this, because at the end of the day, it literally can get worse. We could be having the same conversation after an egregious loss to the Patriots right before we start going down the line of our divisional rivals. 3 teams who are sitting there looking solid. One who is looking Super Bowl bound. Another that is just literally like, we know that they're going to be a playoff team. It's going to be a dogfight. And another that just seems out of the blue, but Sam Darnold is sitting there rocking and rolling with JJ. It's not looking good for us. Yet we're sitting here stressing about the goddaggone Patriots. Make it make sense. Listen, whether it's love, whether it's hate, put in the chat. I'll be in there with you. Till next time. Peace.